Hello everyone, this is Luck and I, and welcome back to the Great Builds YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a new overview of the city and talking about things that have changed and things that will change in the future for this city. Now, I might not have been posting to my liking in the past few weeks, and that's primarily because my camera wasn't doing the best job for me, and I was having trouble making videos that were in low enough file sizes for YouTube to be able to handle. So I'm trying out a different camera from my collection of technology, and we'll see if this one works any better. Now, let's start with some of the things that I want to do for the future with this city, and then I'll get into some of the things I've changed. Some of these things I've changed will warrant their own video in the future, so today will just be a quick overview, but you can be sure to see some of these changes featured in full videos in the future. Now, in terms of what I want to do to change this city, most of the things you see here will remain the same way that they have been. However, I wanted to make it known that this LEGO city is going to be tailored to my tastes as a Ninjago fan. And you can see here that just part of my Ninjago collection is displayed over here on this shelf. But I also have some dragons being featured over here, and still shelves with Ninjago stuff on top of them. So I really wanted to put my taste into Ninjago into this city as well, which is kind of already something that you can see started here. I've started with putting some smaller Ninjago vehicles on the roads. The noodle shops from the Creators 3-in-1 sets have actually been a great help to add to that aesthetic. And just as a little side note, I just put a little tiny micro-scale build of a dragon to chill out on the beach here just for fun. Now, this is primarily because I didn't want my city to be like every other city on YouTube, which is just the traditional roads with some buildings and some cars, maybe a train layout on it like mine has. But I think this is just a good change for the city going forward, and it will allow me to personalize it and create custom builds that will be looking really good for this city as well. Now, let's start with some of the changes I've made in this city. The first change is actually over here by the beach. I've finally finished off the boardwalk by tiling it off with some tiles and jumper plates in medium, nougat, and brown. And this just adds some texture, make it look like a boardwalk, because this entire section of the city is built over the ocean. Now, eventually I plan to add some pieces to make it look like the train tracks here are on a bridge, which will make it a little bit easier to understand as a train layout. But overall, I could say this is a good change for the city, and it will allow more minifigures to pose on this section, but also make this section make a little bit more sense as a train station being built over the water would need a boardwalk. Now, moving on over here to the main train station, the next big change actually involves retexturing parts and rebuilding my own custom train cars for one of my LEGO sets that I've modified. And that is this train right here. This is the LEGO Lone Ranger Constitution Train Chase set. However, it's only the front two cars, the actual steam engine and the coal car that is put behind it. And this particular train, I've just taken my liberties of the LEGO Builder and retextured some of the colors a little bit to match with my custom builds that I've built for this. And you can see I've just changed out the color of the roof and added some white texturing to the outsides. And that's because I've built two custom train cars for this train. They're just standard passenger cars, but they're meant to be looking a little bit more like the aesthetic I would want for the train in this city. And I personally think I did a great job with these. And because these two train cars are custom, I could choose to add more in the future. The downside is that this train is not battery powered, so I cannot run this train around with a battery running it, but that's okay because the reality is I like doing a stop animation, and if I'm going to do stop animation, a battery powered train is not going to help that anyway. However, I will still be keeping my battery powered LEGO City train on this display as well, and I plan to do hopefully something like an elevated railway in the future, so you'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But I do want to have trains running around the city with battery boxes and stuff like that. There is this train as an option still. And that's actually why I had this track originally built the switch and two platforms at this station. So you can see here that I've put some people here, first of all. But this is just so that there's two different trains that can run around this layout. But I think this custom train is a good step in the right direction because it's slightly more fantasy-based than the previous trains. And this is kind of the thing that I would expect to see in an older part of the city of Ninjago, just as an older train, because this almost fits the style that goes with some of the earlier pieces used throughout the entire Ninjago franchise. For example, like the cowcatcher piece here was used on the section of the Samurai X-Mech for shoulder armor. So that's just kind of a fun little addition to the city. Now let's move on over here. You can see here we have the little bench and meeting area that I've been working on. Mostly just a bunch of gray bricks placed here. I might raise this section up by one plate to make this little section here along the edge of the tracks a little bit more smooth. But for now, I think this is pretty good. And there's just a bench for people to sit and wait for people that they're coming on the train to arrive at the train station. I also put down an ice cream cart here from the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 sets. And there's also a statue here featuring parts from the collectible minifigure series Gargoyle to create like a dragon powered minifigure. And this is just an addition to my LEGO city. Now, moving over here, I've built a bunch of scaffolding and a little tower crane out of a bunch of these support beams. And this is just to showcase that I do plan to put more buildings here. This just covers up the area in the meantime while I'm designing some buildings that are custom to fit in this location. Also, something I should point out is that I've also made efforts to make this parkway 2 studs wide on each side more, and this allows me to put larger vehicles or vehicles with wider wheel spans like this Ninjago vehicle here, or I could see trucks and tractors fitting better on this street. And if I do ever expand the city, I'd like to expand it, this road in particular, to move closer to the wall. Because the plan for expanding this city is to add more stuff on this side of the city with a little pocket for me to stand up, and possibly to also add more on this side of the city as well. So this is definitely worth taking a look at in the future as a road concept, but I can say with full pride that this is probably one of the coolest changes to the city, because now I have an actual difference between the highway and just the regular roads of the city. Now, you'll see that I've removed most of the spaceport from over here. This is partially because I want to design a custom way for the spaceport to fit into the city without it taking up so much space around the central area of the city. So that might be moved to the expansion that I might have over here in the future. But we'll have to wait and see what my plans are for that. This just gives some more open space to add some more buildings in the future, which is great because I have big plans for custom buildings in this city, and I might as well find a way to start working with them now. So this is the perfect place to start, because the overall structure of the spaceport took up a lot more space than I initially wanted it to. So until I expand the city, or until I find space here for it, this is going to be the only section I keep, which is like a little science lab and observatory, as well as a garage beneath it, which is just something that I think should be kept so that you still know that there's something spatially going on here, but it still keeps it somewhat close to what I would expect to fit within the city, leaving room for more buildings. Something else you may have noticed as we've been going through the city is I've been adding in actual lights to each of the lampposts. If you've been watching these city reviews for a while, you'll have noticed that these lampposts didn't have any lights on them. But I finally went to the pad wall at the LEGO store and picked up some of the actual lamp elements that I actually wanted. And instead of putting the traditional radar dish on top like LEGO sets do, I just wanted 1x1 round tiles, because that just makes the lamppost look a little bit different, and I think it adds to the aesthetic of this LEGO city. Now, in the future, I'm considering switching all of these for glow-in-the-dark so that at night the street lamps actually glow a little bit, but that might take some time to collect all the glow-in-the-dark pieces I need for that. So for now, I'm just happy that there's actually lampposts placed on the actual lamps that I have in the city. Now, the pizza shop has been moved over here, and that's just because there's room over here in the city for that style of building now, and I plan to be building up a custom wall around the back. Now, this will warrant its own video coming out in the future, and I've attempted to make videos on this in the past, so you'll have to wait and see what the final product turns out like. But this is my new botanical garden section, and I also have the forest section on the outside. This will still have its full video posted soon, but I just wanted to show people now that there is something going on this side of the city, including a build that was built by my brother for this LEGO display. So stay tuned to that full video to see more about this whole area here. Now, that will conclude all of the changes I've put in for this city, and as you can see, some of the vehicles have been moved around a bit, and that's actually intentional, because the way I want this city to work is I want it to seem like there's actually a storyline being followed throughout the city as these videos go on. For example, in previous videos, I've made it so the firemen are actually doing something over here at this apartment, trying to help people out, primarily because I thought that it would be funny if there was like a rooftop grill that was catching on fire and stuff like that. So now that that job is finished, the firemen are moving on to their next project. And for example, now there is also the ambulance that I've built, which is a modified LEGO Friends set, and a police motorcycle here helping this guy who has fallen on his jog. And that's just part of the things I want to do for this city in the future. I want to make it seem more like a story can be played out here, and that it's not just a display. It's also something that can be played around with. And if there's any suggestions people have for places and things to go on in the city, feel free to leave a comment. I do tend to check the comments regularly, and it's always a good idea to get some inspiration from the audience. So feel free to leave a comment if that's something you actually think would be good for the city. And I thank you for watching this video. It took a lot of time to finally figure out how to get this video to work all in one go. So feel free to leave a like, and I'm not going to ask you to subscribe because every YouTuber does that, and I'd like to focus here on out for making content people can enjoy rather than making them feel obligated to do something for it. And I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.